There's absolutely no better way to start an episode than being a little angry and bringing up some drama from this past weekend, guys. What is up? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, why don't you leave a comment down below? Have a great day, and let's crack on into what the frick is going on over at Fnatic. It was this past weekend. I was on vacation. That's why I didn't comment on this. I didn't want to dive too far into it. I was saving it for a special episode for all of you guys because after last week, we talked about the miracle run that was Fnatic qualifying for the major. They take Philadelphia Blocktober. I believe it ended up being over 9. We covered that series. It was incredible. Honestly, Fnatic could have almost thrown that series away. It was likely to come down to whoever won Philadelphia to take that last qualifying major spot, and it was somehow Fnatic. And by the way, that little series over at Philadelphia, it was cinema, by the way.
This is probabilities, timings, Counter-Strike's fundamental core, the bottom line of what the major means.
Good way to start out from the veteran. A little bit of trade back, Fear able to double up. Bobbin keeps the numbers even, but the space going out towards Pop. Bobbin knows what's up. Moto, if you wanted to step up at any time, you got to do it now.
Running around red, there's one coming through, traded back, and Moto, the first shot we've seen him hit in quite some time. Between Red Box, it's Fear and Cypher, and it's a major! In the land of liberty, the shackles of Shanghai set them free. They fly right on back to Budapest, and they see themselves uplifted again.
And there's also people talking about a crazy clip because doing this when there's player cams and production cameras all around is like is kind of awesome, but also highly questionable, but I'm here for it, okay? I was all in on the Fnatic hype train after they have grinded away and qualified. It was insane.
Probably not Tilt. I think it's way too early in the game to realistically
Oh, did you just send him a kiss?
Ooh. That's crazy.
What?
Philadelphia.
Not to mention all the things that had to line up for this. Of course, Virtus Pro having visa issues being one of the big nails in the coffin for that team not making the major, which just about nobody was upset about. But Fnatic have been going on this grind for over 8 months. I believe the final stat line saying over 30 tournaments they grinded through and really climbed the VRS ladder. I would say likewise what we've seen out of teams like NIP and many other teams out there where all of a sudden they're not at tier 1 lands, not at S tier lands, but they are grinding the lower circuit and having to win to actually improve their standing. And they worked for it and they earned this major qualification. And at that point in time, everyone was super excited because this team has so many storylines within it. I focus on the big one, that being freaking Blame F. I also focused on another big one. I was a former ITB fan before Into the Breach, rest in peace, went out of business for a crazy story. Back in the Paris Major, the run they had was someone like Cypher, who back in the day, a couple years ago, was so outspoken, so energetic, an energy we have not seen for quite some time. And that's why it comes back to today, because out of nowhere, seemingly, it is Fnatic now announcing that jackasmo has actually joined the roster on a permanent basis. And for this upcoming CAC, the Asian Championships, he'll be replacing Cypher. After this team finally made the major, they are making major roster decisions. Because in case you did not know, Jack actually had stood in for Krims at that Philadelphia run. And so Krim's now back in the lineup. jackasmo is now also there. People saying buddies with Fear. And who does he replace? That's someone like Cypher. And so immediately the entire scene and community starting to hate watch. And I'm okay with this right now because we don't have answers as to what this supposed now 6-man roster is going to do. Cypher also tweeting out things you feel instantly bad for this guy. One of his last tweets was telling people to pick up jackasmo. I bet he didn't know. I bet he didn't know what could have been, okay? And he hasn't even deleted that tweet because we love Cypher. And I get it. It is not an easy situation to be in with this team who has slowly but surely, you know, grinded and certainly gotten better and better. And I can't imagine that benching Krims is necessarily the right move because he's the big name on this roster, and that would also probably draw backlash. But you know, jackasmo also earned a little bit of his spot because he's the partial end reason of why they made the major, but then you could argue the rest of the roster is why they even had a chance to make the major to begin with. And so it's difficult because who knows what the best choice is going to be. And we now finally have comments from Fnatic, or at least some comments from Fear, thanks to HLTV. A few brief comments. We have now officialized it's going to be a 6-man roster. So they're going to play out these Asian championships with jackasmo in place of Cypher. I guess we'll wait to see how that tournament goes to decide the future of what Cypher will do inside this team. To me, it seems like, okay, if they do well at CAC, that's going to be the major roster. If they don't do well at CAC, maybe they offer the invite back to Cypher. That is me just assuming things based on, I guess, bare bones logic. I don't know how else this benefits your team. And it just puts everyone in such an awkward situation, particularly someone like Cypher. Like, it's always got to be something, Fnatic. Just when you have all these fans, I am right in line to hate watch. I'm sorry. I don't want to be that guy. You guys know me. I love just about every team because I'm a North American guy. I have to. And so again, at the end of the day, I imagine this has to be very difficult for Fnatic because you're coming off a pretty big win with a different roster. Then you have a big name come back, that being Krims, and you're like, oh, but we just won with Jack, who filled in for you. What do we do? Do we bench the old-time legend of Swedish / Fnatic / CS in general, or do we bench Cypher? The guy we can probably get away with it a bit more. It is very difficult to be in Fnatic's shoes. I understand that, but you also have to understand the community you are put yourself in. We are diehard, all right? And there's going to be some heartfelt fans feeling this no matter what decision they make. But at the end of the day, Fnatic's job is to make the choice they feel that is best for them. As long as we get a Cypher sticker, I guess that's also a big financial implication here, but I do feel bad for the guy. No matter who you're cheering for here, the one I feel the worst for is Cypher. And so I hope he holds his head high and we see what the future of this Fnatic lineup is going to be. And someone who did not hold his head high but is now facing backlash, that's going to be good old Kyousuke or Kyousuke. Have we decided how we want to say this name yet? Because remember, he said either of them work. It was after this last weekend and their grand finals loss. It was a brutal loss. Vitality absolutely dumpstering Falcons. They've had their number in these lengthy series for the most part outside of EWC, and Kyousuke not having a great series. That's not really relevant to what we talk about here because it was after the match, and I had missed this initially, where they give out those condolence second place medals to them, not beating Vitality, and generally the players will, be crowned with them, and some will take them off, as we'll get into. But it was Kyousuke, and some people saw this as disrespectful, just taking the medal and putting it to his side. I'll be honest, when I first saw this, I did not think this was a big deal at all. This is a kid who doesn't want a second place medal, and maybe he could have done it in a bit more respectful manner. I don't know if that's because he's young, maybe a lack of translation between, change of cultures, and maybe, not knowing what to do there. I didn't think it was a big deal outside of that, though. But apparently, especially Twitter, Reddit as well, they don't like Falcons in general, so I guess we got to take all of this with a bit of grain of salt. I'm curious what you guys think. Do you care that Kyousuke, instead of, having the medal go over his neck and then maybe taking it off, he just took it from the guy and then just put it right to his side? Yeah, it maybe came across a bit disingenuous, but at the end, is it really that big of a deal? You guys let me know. I bring all of this up because last time we talked about this, it was a throwback back to Spinks and Mouse, where, they placed second. I can't remember if this was also to Vitality, where Spinks also took that medal and he was, went over his neck, but then he took it right off. And he went viral for this. And I think in a pretty, I don't think the feedback was as negative, but it definitely wasn't still good.
As Janko said, I think it's an excellent point. You know, sometimes he maybe seem a bit careless. Sometimes in the interview he doesn't give away too much, but the pictures we just saw before, it means everything to him. It's also a kid who spends 10 hours a day playing FaZe It whenever they're not practicing. It's a guy that lives and breathes Counter-Strike. More than 30% of the time that he's awake throughout his entire life has been spent on the server.
I mean, of course, we're riding the high of spirit, but we've got to just touch upon Mouse and what they're feeling in this moment. Spinks simply taking the medal off. It's a heartbreaking moment.
I mean, they've all said that we don't want to be second. We don't care about second place. It has no value.
In fact, I went back the other day, and Twitter is such a cesspool of human life that there are just people in the comments being racist towards Spinks. I'll be honest. I don't need to show you guys that stuff. I was expecting to go back because my general consensus on that and what I replied to that tweet was I actually kind of like seeing that out of a player. You know, he respectfully, he took the medal, and then he was like, hey, this is not what I'm here for. I'm here for the trophy, not the medal. And I kind of like the way that Spinks did it. The comment section, some did agree and others did not. But it seemed this time around people were really upset with Kyousuke and the manner of which he did it. And then other people just hating on Falcons because they've spent all this much money, and maybe on someone like Kyousuke as well, and they can't seem to get a win. And that seemed like the general consensus I saw. I realized we're talking about something pretty small here, guys. Nothing that I really care about. I've never really had too many medals placed around my neck, so I'll take a participation medal if that's what it comes to. But what do you guys think about this Kyousuke second place medal drama? And another big story out there that I think you Germans might appreciate, as it might not sound like that big of news because we have not talked about Big Clan in so long. Every time I see these guys, it is just, let me be blunt, it is just disappointing. I've been watching them for a long time. I have seen their highs, and I have witnessed for a while now their very, very low lows. And I think a big change was needed for this team, and there might still be some other changes needed as well. Not to say they haven't shuffled out some guys, right? I think Big Rig or Riggin is now over on Ents, and now you have, I would think, probably one of their biggest changes in a long, long time, that being young star Krimbo, who was an up-and-comer first when he joined this team, and Krimbo also being German, of course you aspire, a lot of German kids aspire to be a part of Big Clan, and he was a big signing. Has not landed too much with them, but is still certainly one of their better players, if not their best player, certainly at times. Krimbo has a lot of talent. I think he has a high ceiling, and I think he can accomplish a lot outside of Big. I don't know if there was complacency with his team or what needs to be done, but he's replaced by a guy known as Freeze, and I'm actually really excited to see where Krimbo goes. I think he still has a lot of talent to express in the scene, and so it might not be big news to you guys, but I think it's big news for Krimbo. I wish nothing but that kid the best of luck. He's a great kid, great head on his shoulders. I've talked to him before, so hopefully he lands somewhere else and we can keep on seeing him compete. And then very lastly, for all of you guys, someone else we want to see land somewhere else and keep on competing, that being FaZe Rain. After, of course, their EPL loss, they lost to Mouse in that third place contenders match, which I don't even watch third place matchups. I thought I'd be a fan of these things, replacing show matches, but I don't know if I can get my over that hump of enjoying third place matches and having them have some sort of substance. Again, maybe that's just me. The more important final loss for them being to Vitality, but they take an important map one. They make a semi-finals of ESL Pro League. I would say a great send-off for someone like FaZe Rain. And so thanks to HLTV and their interview with him, he says, hey, this is not my priority anymore. I barely practiced for this event. So, he was trying to play other games and, maybe celebrate a little bit of a 10-year tenure with this team and didn't expect to be called back in the lineup at last notice. This is not his priority. He does have plans. And at the end of all this, guys, he can't discuss those plans. Cross your fingers for FaZe Rain.
Hurrah, especially with Russ back in the lineup as well.
Yeah.
How was that for you? Like, what did it mean?
It was really good. I wish I would have known sooner, so I could have grinded a little bit of CS, because I was a little bit rusty coming into this event. I spent some time trying to reset, play some other games, and not focus too much on CS. I think I had like 12 FaZe games or something with Olaf. So other than that, I'm just happy I managed to get some points for the guys, get them a little bit up the ranking, and finish on kind of a good note compared to the Fisher event at least.
Yeah, tell me about that a little bit, because as you say, you were kind of done. You were at home. You didn't expect to come here. Getting that call to come in, what was kind of going through your mind at that point?
I don't know, there's been a lot of things going through my mind. I have meetings left and right every day, and just trying to figure out what's next. So there's been a lot. It was of course nice, but at the same time, this is not my future, and my priorities can't only be on FaZe. I have to secure my future as well. So it's been probably a bit distracted during this tournament, and my mind hasn't always been on the game. But it was fun, of course, playing with Russ again. He's matured a lot since the last time we played, and he's way more vocal and more clear what he wants to do. So it's great to see him come back like this, and this is a bright future for this team for sure.
And that is going to do it, y'all. I'll tell you what, there's nothing better than a bit of an angry episode. You know, people angry at Kyousuke, people angry at Fnatic. I love it because we're not that angry here, right, guys? We're all calm, cool, and tempered down in the comment section. But give me your honest thoughts on all of this stuff, all right? I'm just curious what the actual general consensus is, because I can't trust Twitter and X anymore. It's just bunch of bots and people faking engagement. I want to know what the true feelings are out there in the CS community. But until next time, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys all enjoy. We got some more stuff coming as the Asian Championships are now underway. This might be my first time ever covering those, by the way, so we'll see what teams come out on top. Till next time, take care, y'all. We'll see you soon.